Hello, fellow Nigerians. This is your friend and brother, Dr. Haruna Goro. It's been a while that I did a broadcast just watching. Hello, fellow Nigerians. This is your friend and brother, Dr. Haruna Goro. It's been a while that I did a broadcast just watching what's going on in our wonderful, wonderful nation. I salute you, Nigerians. It's been tough, it's been rough, it's been challenging, but you are not giving up. We know what's been happening at the Court of Appeal, that is the Election Tribunal Court. Labour Party and PDP presenting their case. We also have the defense of Tinubu, APC, and INEC. It's nothing to write home about. You can see obviously that they know they don't have a case. They're just hoping that the judges will use technicalities. And don't forget, they already have promised that they will not judge it on the basis of technicalities, but they are going to use the merit of the case. They are going to go with the evidences that the people will be presenting. And INEC, APC, and Tinubu don't have anything. There's no defense for them. This case is an easy walkover case. The judges have told Labour Party and PDP that they will contact them on the day when the judgment will be passed. So we are all waiting. Nigerians are all waiting. People are calm and gentle because our principal, Mr. Peter, will be a man of peace who says he believes in the justice system of Nigeria because he has benefited before. And so Nigerians are calm. People are not going out to cause any trouble. People are waiting patiently to hear the outcome of this case. I'm confident that we are going to retrieve this stolen money because Tinubu was not the winner. Because if he's the winner, why are they already appearing to be conceding? If Tinubu was truly the winner, why are they suddenly now talking about a rerun? And the one person that they are all scared of is no one but Peter Obi. What is APC asking? They're saying where there is a rerun, that Peter Obi should be disqualified. Only Atiku should be qualified to run because he kind of feels that Atiku has been losing election. It will be a run over. It will be an easy win for him. Without rigging, he can defeat Atiku. But the one that he's scared of is Peter Obi. Why should they be scared of number 3? I thought they said he's number 3. And he's supposed to have been scared of Atiku, but they are now scared of Peter Obi. So let's wait and see. I'm telling you, if the judges will follow the exact case the way it should be and follow all the evidences, they don't even need to cancel the election and do a rerun. They should just check the results right from the polling unit. Check the number of people that voted and check the results. It will be so easy to know who the winner was. INEC gave certified copies of the IREF result that were blank, blurred, and some were just photos. And so they are expecting the court to use that. How did Tinubu win with blurred result? How did they read it? So that's why now the whole case is coming out. It is very obvious that Tinubu did not win. Just as Peter Obi said that he was the true winner, and he said he will prove it. So we're waiting to see the outcome of this case. Nigerians are waiting. Our eyes are on the judiciary. As I've been saying in many of my broadcasts, that if Tinubu was truly the winner, where are the people that elected him? Where are the people that voted for him? We expect them to be very happy. But the nation right now, people are angry. From north to south, east to west, people are frustrated. See what has happened with the so-called removal of the oil subsidy. Who is the one benefiting? And they are saying that the poor should be given the right to breathe. Who choked the poor from breathing? Is it not the same wicked politicians that have stolen the money that belongs to the people, and now they are saying that those who are saying let's allow the poor to say hi, and those who are saying no say nay? I mean, that is so childish. You muzzle people, you squeeze breath out of people. You're now saying that let's allow them to breathe. Is that even something you should be talking about? Legislative arm of government. That went from Labour Party and from other smaller parties. Speak out. That's why you're there. Don't just sit down there and whatever they tell you, whatever they say, you just say aye. To let the poor breathe, you must cut your salaries, cut your allowance. How much are senators getting? And every benefit that you if you can slice it even just in half, every poor person in Nigeria will breathe. So all these things they are talking about is false. They don't have a heart for the people. That's why you see people will do everything. They don't mind killing their political opponents. They don't mind rigging. They don't mind lying and doing whatever they can just to get to the House of Representatives or get to the Senate, because they know they're going to get money. Nigerians, we knew what we suffered under Buhari. Buhari has been one of the worst presidents that Nigeria has ever had. And he handed over to Tinubu, who is already showing that he will be worse than Buhari, a stolen mandate, and is there trying to make it look as if he's a man of justice. He wants to run an inclusive government. Just see even his ministerial appointment, the same old cargo thieves. It's a congregation, it's a conference, it's a gathering of political thugs, political thieves, to have people like Akpabio there, to have people that are coming in like El Rufai, to have wicked, a man that there's no sincerity in him. Small time you will be using the name of God in vain. These are wicked people. And you can see it's very, very obvious from Tinubu's list of ministers that he gave to the Senate for approval. Most of these people are the people that play the dirty game for him. So he's rewarding them. Where are the young people? He's dragging the same people. He made the promise to them. Help me rig. Get me there. Amy Locon, I will also make sure I give you your own. That's why you see all of them. The same people, thieves, a gathering of thieves. And he wants them to be the ministers, cabinet ministers all over Nigeria. What do you expect? And they are saying there will be a difference, there will be a change. I'm telling you, the change will be a change of the level of corruption from one level to another. It's going to be worse. We're already seeing what is happening. People cannot even drive. Transportation has become a challenge. People are going to work on foot. People can't eat. It's just a struggle for survival. And there, Tinubu is talking about change. What change? Nigerians, don't you sit quiet. Let's take a stand together and demand justice. And we ask you, the judges, don't be bought by these wicked politicians. They don't have the interest of Nigerians. Nigerians are quiet now, just waiting for you, the judges, for this judgment. Please, you know the truth. Follow the merit of this case. Don't be bought the same way Mahmoud Yakubu was bought. Don't allow yourself to be intimidated by Tinubu. Think about the suffering masses in Nigeria. Let justice reign. Nigerians are waiting for you to do the right thing. Let the fear of God touch your heart. Think about prosperity. God is watching. Do the right thing. Let justice prevail in Nigeria. It's becoming very obvious that Tinubu knows he's not qualified. He knows this mandate is not his. He's sitting on a stolen seat. He's holding onto a stolen mandate. And that's why they're already releasing talks, just as they did during the election, before the election, and disenfranchise so many people. Now, this so-called tout, they are using him called Asari, is it Dokubo or whatever. Tinubu is scared he will lose this case, so they're already preparing people like Asari Dokubo so that he can gather his people. And Asari is training people like the army. It's very obvious that Asari is acting on instruction. He is being used to terrorize people. So in case the case goes against Tinubu, not in his favor, he will release those people, those touts, to go after innocent Nigerians. Nigerians, let's stand and not allow these wicked hooligans come to disturb or disrupt our peace. You notice that the young people have been quiet. Nigerians have been quiet. They have not created any problem. Nobody has gone after anyone. Peter will be called on his supporters to be patient and wait for the outcome of the case that is in the tribunal. And now we are waiting for the judgment. But now Asari is already going out and saying, turn by turn. He's singing turn by turn. That is Jagaban turn. Wait, I want to ask you, when you keep talking about 10, since Tinubu started Emilok on this 10 matter, listen, nobody has the right or the monopoly of being president over this nation. Why should you think, okay, it's their turn, then somebody's turn? And some people don't even think about the minority tribe. They're always just talking about the three major tribes. They're always talking about Hausa, Yoruba, and Igbo. But even the Igbos, they've not allowed them. Peter Obi was the first one now to come out. The nation stood behind him, but people are fighting. They are saying, we will never allow an Inyamiri, we will never allow an Igbo rule or govern this nation. And then we call ourselves that we are in one nation. What a lie, what a deception. And then when people start to agitate, we now go after them and say, stop it, stop it. Meanwhile, you don't want to include them. You have pushed them aside. And the few Igbos that are involved in governance, they are the ones that have been bought over because of money. They betrayed the entire eastern region. They betrayed the entire Igbo race just because of their own personal gratification, just to satisfy their own greed. They don't mind betraying their own fellow brother. I am a northerner. I'm from Kaduna State. I'm supporting Obi because I can see this man has what it takes to see the birth of a new Nigeria. Have you seen how Tinubu already, just a few months, how his entourage, hundreds of vehicles, and you see in Abuja, he has to block traffic anytime he's going to the office. Now that's the kind of person you want to be president. But Peter Obi is a simple person. Our money will be used judiciously. He's a person that is a thinker and he has empathy. He thinks about the suffering Nigerians. This is the time that we must stand together in unity and fight back these rogues, these wicked politicians that don't have our interests at heart. Every time they say we should vote for them, but when we vote for them, it's all about serving their own interest that they go into the Senate for, they go into the House of Reps for. So let's wake up, shine your eye well. These people will never keep to their promises. They are there just to steal and steal and steal. And we must say, no, not anymore. We have risen and we are going to stand together to take our nation back from these wicked politicians. Now we know that Tinubu has been made the chairman of the ECOWAS bloc, and we know what just happened in Niger Republic. Remember, Buhari said if there's trouble in Nigeria, he will run across the border to Niger. Now there is fire on the mountain in Niger, so where will he run to? So now, the one he put in power is now promising that he will send soldiers, he will send Nigerian army to Niger to go and fight. I want to warn you, Mr. Tinubu, don't try this. And you soldiers, don't be a zombie, don't be zombies. You know how you've been treated. You know how many of your colleagues have died fighting the insurgents, and they did not empower you to fight well, and you have suffered enough. Now, talk about Niger. Leave Niger. We have not dealt with the challenge of Boko Haram here, hired assassins, Fulani headsmen, the kidnappers, the ritual killers. We have so much to deal with here, and we have not had Tinubu make any statement as to what is he going to do concerning the insecurity in the nation. Now he's talking about sending our army to go and kill innocent people. Now we can hear some of those people, they're already speaking. They are saying, Tinubu must not try it because they are ready for them. It's going to be a gang up of the other West African soldiers to come up against Nigeria. We have too much to deal with now. Don't create another trouble for us, Mr. Tinubu, as a way to distract Nigerians from what is going on, to distract Nigerians from the ongoing case. But I'm telling you, Nigerians, let's say no to the idea of sending our army to go and fight a mundane so-called war in Niger. We refuse it. Let there be security first within our borders before you think about other people. But Nigeria is not safe. You can't travel on the road. You are not safe in your own house. Wherever you go, the people will kidnap and collect money. People are suffering, and then you're talking about sending the army across border to go and fight for who? We refuse it. We will not agree. We will not accept that. See our people. Many people cannot farm. Many people are out of their homes. Villages have been cleared. Many people killed, massacred in cold blood, and they have to escape. They are now in IDP camps. Mr. President, have you gone to the IDP camp? Peter Obi, even though he's got this case going on his birthday, where did Peter Obi spend his birthday? When people had gathered to celebrate it for him, he went to an IDP camp. So what are we talking about? And then now you are sending a list of so-called ministers that you gather, that you know all of them are thieves. They were the people that did the dirty work to give you that dirty seat you're sitting on. But very soon, we are removing you out of that seat because it doesn't belong to you. Nigerians didn't vote for you. You know it yourself. So right now, I call upon Nigerians, let's keep our eyes on the judiciary. We are waiting to see the outcome of this case. And they must not make the mistake of saying that Tinubu was the true winner, because it's obvious he did not win. We are peaceful, we are gentle. Can you see now, even with what just happened with the labor union that went out on strike, they are asking for increment. The government has not done it. Sending money to the justice system, sending money to the judiciary, sending money to the legislators for what? Masses are suffering, and you are saying, let the poor breathe. Let's allow them to breathe. What a lie. But I'm telling you, the time has come. Nigerians are going to show to you that the fact that they are quiet does not mean they are foolish. They are just waiting for this case to be over. And make the mistake, Nigerians will stand up and take their nation back. I believe the birth of a new Nigeria's time has come, and nobody can stop it. It's too late for you, Mr. Tinubu. It's too late for you, all those thieves that you want to gather as your ministers, cabinet ministers, so that you can steal some more. Your end has come. Nigerians are taking back their nation. How many young people did you put in your cabinet? Nigerians, can you see that this man does not care about you? Just going through this list and seeing the names, you know it's going to be worse than Buhari's time. But they will not be allowed to continue. Nigerians are smart. Quietness does not mean we are dumb. We are taking our nation back. And I'm confident that Peter Obi will be taking back his mandate, because the people voted for Peter Obi, and we will see the birth of a new Nigeria. And I look forward to seeing that in my lifetime. And I believe it's possible. As I've been encouraging us all, let's remain optimistic. Let's believe that Nigeria is about to change, and the nations of the world will see this change, because what is impossible with man is possible with God. Don't relent, don't give up, don't throw in the towel, keep praying, keep trusting, because God is about to change the story of Nigeria, and the rest of the world will stand in awe. I want to say thank you very much for being part of today's broadcast. Before you go ahead and share this broadcast with as many people as you can.
While we await the judgment from the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, let's analyze what they will be deliberating on as we speak. Yes, they should be in the process of deliberation, deep one. They should be analyzing all the evidence before them, how INEC conducted the election, and to some extent, their arguments. The first reason that INEC gave that prevented them from uploading presidential election results on election day was that a glitch prevented them from doing so. And that glitch incidentally affected only presidential election results. It didn't affect senatorial National Assembly elections. By the way, they were held the same day
Sorry about that, guys. My battery ran out, so I apologize.
While we await the judgment from the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, let's analyze what they will be deliberating on as we speak. Yes, they should be in the process of deliberation, deep one. They should be analyzing all the evidence before them, how INEC conducted the election, and to some extent, their arguments. The first reason that INEC gave that prevented them from uploading presidential election results on election day was that a glitch prevented them from doing so. And that glitch incidentally affected only presidential election results. It didn't affect senatorial National Assembly elections. By the way, they were held the same day. Voters were given 3 ballots to thumbprint. It's accepted that INEC claimed that it was a glitch that prevented them from uploading it. Now, when they came to court, they now turned around and said, despite the fact that a glitch prevented us from uploading the results, one federal high court judgment reinforced our power to conduct election anywhere we want. We can collate anyhow we wish. So on one hand, they are saying that a glitch prevented them from uploading the results. On the other hand, they are saying that the upload is not needed, that they didn't really need it, that they collated with hard copies. Looking at these two arguments critically and logically, you will see that the second one actually is counterproductive. It exposes them more, because if INEC is saying that a glitch prevented them from uploading the results, that means they already accepted that it's an obligation to upload, that it is a must that they will upload the results. So why then do they turn around and say, they don't need to upload, that it wasn't necessary? There's a third argument that the lack of upload did not affect the outcome of the election, that the results were collected correctly. Yes, they said this in court, but the evidence before the court says otherwise. 2 states that Labour Party collated, the one presented by the mathematician, Rivers and Benue State, INEC collated these results, but according to the IREV uploaded copies and the hard copies they gave as CTCs to Labour Party, these results are completely the opposite of what INEC announced. They announced APC as winners in Benue and Rivers, but their own hard copies and IREV say otherwise. It says that it is Labour Party that won. So looking at what is going on, it is obvious that INEC, after denying all the accusations by the petitioners, came to court to accept everything. Yes, they couldn't counter the Benue results. They could not counter the Rivers State results. They accepted them that it is real. So it's already an acceptance of guilt. It counters whatever they have said, all their arguments that the non-upload of the presidential election results did not affect the outcome of the election.
One study showed that most people in their 70s have lost 75% of their nitric oxide. No one.
The Labour Party witness also told the court that he would have calculated and collated all the results, but because of time, he wouldn't want to be doing that while the court is in process. So there's no way out for INEC in this tribunal. They've been caught lying. Everything they said, the petitioners countered it. In fact, they even accepted many of them. So there's no way this election will stand. Some people will say, Rivers State's results and Benue State will not make Peter Obi winner now. What are they doing? Yes, you remember that they only needed to show a pattern, and they successfully proved it. When you are telling the court that the non-upload of presidential election results deprived you of the win, that it was because of that they prevented the upload in the first place, and you go on to show the evidence, show the hard copies, show the uploaded ones that they did not upload at the polling unit, this is already against the law anyway. The law specifically says upload at the polling unit after vote counting. So when you show all these and now calculate 2 states and say, yes, look at what we mean. You see the results, you see this. You have shown the pattern. You have shown, yes, that it truly affected the outcome of the presidential election. So it's left for the court to look at the remaining evidence to see who truly won the election. Some will also say, why didn't Peter Obi ask to be declared winner in his final address? Is he no longer sure that he won? Just like what happened to INEC, they made 2 arguments that countered each other, making it unreasonable and illogical. You can't come to court and be saying that the election was flawed and marred by irregularities and conducted without compliance to the electoral law. And on the other hand, you'll be asking to be declared winner. So in order to avoid the two arguments countering each other, like in the case of INEC, they toned down the second one. So it's now at the discretion of the judges to say, hey, are we going to cancel this election despite the fact that we have seen that it was rigged? Even the respondents are arguing that the non-compliance didn't affect the outcome of the election. So we can now calculate the remaining results and see truly if it didn't affect it. So whoever wins should be declared winner. So if the justices say, yes, let's go this route, they might decide to calculate the votes and declare the winner. So they intentionally omitted that line not to be caught up with what happened to INEC. Not that they did not win, they provided evidence to prove that they did. But if the election outcome is not good for Bola Tinubu, will it be good for another person? Yes, it can, if the judges decide to do so. They can understand that the reason they didn't upload the presidential election results was to favor APC. So they can decide to calculate the results. After all, INEC argued that the non-upload did not affect the outcome of the presidential election. So we can all bypass the upload and look at the hard copies truly and calculate them and see who actually came tops. That's the most important thing. After that, they will now look at other constitutional requirements if the person got to thirds in 24 states of the federation.
With the DTG G4, you can make custom tees, totes, hoodies, towels, and so much more.
Apart from the non-compliance by INEC and the determination of the highest lawful votes, the other part of the petition is mostly focused on the disqualification of Tinubu. The presiding judge already showed his hand, asking for forgiveness for Tinubu. Whether he was being sarcastic or joking, he shouldn't have said that. It's not his job to defend Tinubu. That's the job of his lawyers. His job is to correctly interpret the constitution and laws of Nigeria, not talk to us about forgiveness. So it's obvious they're looking at technicalities to free him from disqualification. But they should know one thing, that if the election is cancelled and a rerun is declared, having Tinubu on the ballot will be a great injustice. Because it's obvious that he's benefited from this one. Why would they allow him to benefit again? Not this alone, he isn't truly qualified. Yes, that's the real issue. It's not as if the petitioners are asking or begging for him to be disqualified so that they can win. No. He's not qualified. Look at all the evidence. Look at all the baggages. He forged certificates. He was involved in a forfeiture. The Supreme Court has already interpreted forfeiture as meaning a fine and that he must have come with a criminal act. So a lot of all these issues, they can't just waive them and say, no, we free him on everything. We are all in it together. Whatever they decide to do, no one will escape happiness in Nigeria, no matter how highly placed you are. Yes, Nigerians are only demanding that justice be done. If they are seriously considering cancellation, it's only right that people who forced the cancellation in the first place should not benefit again. They should not be part of the new election. Because if INEC had done the right thing, we wouldn't be here. The correct winner of the election should have been declared. Look at the whole mess. They put us into this problem in the first place. And if this election is eventually cancelled, Nigeria will spend new money, will spend billions again to conduct a fresh one. So why will they benefit when it's obvious that they are the ones that forced the cancellation? Are we going to reward the election riggers and ask them, go and try again, go and perfect what you couldn't perfect in the first one? All the clues and evidence they left around, that they should go and perfect it this time around. No. That's not how to reward people who did the wrong thing. If this presidential election is cancelled and a rerun declared, the rerun election will be worse than the first one. Yes, that's a guarantee. Look at what happened in the governorship election in Lagos. They prevented people from voting. They didn't go that far during the presidential because they didn't know that people were about to shock them, that they would lose woefully. So with that experience, they prevented people from voting. They started early in the morning, moving around neighborhoods, telling people that are not Yoruba not to come out to vote. It was open. Many videos around. So if you are going to go to court to challenge an election and you don't have result sheets to present, how are you going to challenge the results? They actively prevented people from getting evidence to challenge the results at the tribunal. A governorship election that every citizen has the right to come out and vote, they block people from voting. They were profiling people along ethnic lines. If you're not Yoruba, you're not allowed to vote, as if all Yorubas must vote for APC. So you can imagine the rigging. So cancellation is not an option. Let them not consider it at all. Let them look at the evidence before them and declare a winner. It is better for Nigeria going forward. Do not reward election riggers. If these people are popular like they claim to be, why didn't they contest the election and allow it to be free and fair so that they will truly test their popularity? But it's obvious they can't compete. That's why they resorted to cutting corners, blocking uploads, writing results and intimidating voters with thugs and policemen and snatching ballot boxes. All these, you steal from people and you claim to want to protect them. That's not possible. Thanks for watching.
As you can see live at Ikota, if I know
Mali and Burkina Faso have taken steps to distance themselves from an ECOWAS resolution to pursue military action against Niger Republic's new military rulers if they fail to restore constitutional order after a 7-day deadline. In a joint statement, the leaders of both West African nations said any military action by the regional bloc would be considered a declaration of war and an assault against the sovereignty of an independent nation, which is protected under international conventions. African affairs analyst Dr. Victor Hai joins us now to discuss recent developments in Niger Republic. He will also look at how far ECOWAS can go without the support of the two nations. Good to have you, Dr. Hai. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure to have you. Now, were you taken aback when you saw the demonstrations today by hundreds of people who are actually backing the coup in Niger? They gathered for a mass rally in the capital, Niamey, but were you surprised by that at all?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
Because frankly,
This right in front of me made me lose 68 pounds. If you are a woman struggling to lose weight, I highly suggest you listen. I want to share why my friend.
power is derived from the people, obviously. And when this happened, let me go into a few things. I remember Chiani is his name, the general, the current leader, and a statement that the military in Niger were making anyway, that when they were going after terrorists, Bazoum, the president, said to them, stop, don't. He was getting orders from the French not to go after the terrorists, and people are dying. Okay? So it therefore means that quite a few of the so-called democratically elected presidents across the continent are nothing but puppets, and that they are propped up by Western powers, not in the interest of the common persons or of the people, but in the interest of those, if you like, masters. Okay? And so there comes a time when the people have it up to here and they say enough is enough. Because of course there'll be infrastructural decay, the economy will be collapsing and all of that. And you know, Niger, of course, is being exploited every day. Their uranium, they're supposed to be a very rich country. The French are just exploiting them like they're exploiting the rest of Africa. You know, and people are getting educated. There's the internet, so you can get information. And so when the coup took place, why did the people not protest? Instead, the people were rejoicing, you know? And so I think that the rest of us should actually respect the wishes of the people. They are an independent nation. Whereas I'm not a supporter of military interregnum or coup, I do not think that that's the best way to take over power.
But you must look at what, if we are talking about democracy, it therefore means what do the people want? If the people are fed up, it means they don't want the current administration. But what happens where the administration continues to impose itself on the people using the military to quell rebellion, and probably they're not, elections or results are manipulated and things like that. So what you saw in Niger today is how the people feel. And if that's how the people feel, then I think the rest of us should be a bit more careful. We cannot cry more than the bereaved. You cannot be more Catholic than the Pope.
Well, then I like how, you set the tone of this conversation, because really and truly, when this coup, came into fruition, the question on the minds of a lot of people was, what was the intent? Why were we seeing this happening in Niger? And like you've also highlighted, there's the presence of, there's the military forces from the French, the US, even the UFC and the EU.
Yeah,
and there are still several...
There are 4 military bases in
Niger. And we're still seeing several insurgent groups like Al-Qaeda, Islamic affiliates, and even Boko Haram continue to kill, the citizens of Niger. So when we look at the body language of the people, at this point, we saw them waving Russian flags and saying that they believe that if they're supported by Russia, that the Wagner group would be better fighters of this insurgency. So when we look at the standpoint of ECOWAS now that has said, they gave them a week, I think it's going to run out this weekend, saying that they're going to come in with military force. And then what us now seeing Burkina Faso and Mali and Guinea declaring their support for the coup in Niger. How do we begin to, assess what is happening on the backdrop of this, let's say, deadline that ECOWAS has given Niger?
You see, I think ECOWAS spoke too quickly.
For just $67, you can make as many videos as you want, and you never need to pick up a camera or use any...
The AU is there and has been more circumspect in the way it's looking and dealing with the matter. But I can understand why ECOWAS behaved the way it did, because the coup poses an existential threat to the current democratically elected leaders, in ECOWAS. Some of them feel if that succeeds, they might be next. I don't know, there's an infographic I sent. I don't know if it's ready yet. I would have liked to just explain something to us, something to do. If you look across Africa right now, when it comes, I'll speak to it, but if you look at the continent right now, it's been divided effectively into two by what? Military, if you like, military hunters across the continent. From what you call it now, Guinea, Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, Chad, and Sudan. That's it.
Yes.
If you see the red, the red that you see there, these are all military regimes. Africa has been divided into two. You think it's an accident? Something is going on. What is happening here is that Africa has become the battlefield of the world powers right now. And because Africa remains the richest resource ground for the world economy, everybody is fighting for the heart and soul of the continent. Like what's happening in Niger right now. The EU have said they have enough uranium to last for a little while, but when that runs out, some industries are going to collapse in those places. Okay? So what is happening basically is Russia, I find this very interesting, whereas what is happening, they're good chess players, and so they are masters at this game. We're looking at the war in Ukraine. That when Wagner, it was as if they were rebelling against Putin, and they suddenly wondered, so what happened? We got fooled. They wanted to use that to enter somewhere, and they did. Don't be fooled. The Russians know the game that they are playing, except that the way they are playing is in consultation with the rest of Africa. Remember, they wiped out debts of how many billions? I can't even remember the figure. Is it $23 billion?
Let's look up those numbers now. But
yeah,
I did
please,
hear
just so that I don't give the wrong figures. But billions of dollars wiped away. So they're not just talking, they're walking the talk. Okay? Along with China, you can see what they're doing. What has been happening is the Western powers we've respected all this while, all well and good, they're great and all that, but they have been, exploitative in their relationship with Africa. There has been no respect for Africans, and for the first time, Africans are beginning to deal with people who show them a little bit of respect, although they may also be exploiting, but the relationship is more like we sit on the table together, not like a master and a servant. Now, the West does not like this, but Russia and China, who are great allies, whether we see it or not, China may be talking with US and all that, but the truth is the alliance with Russia still remains the same. The communism that kept them together is that same thread that keeps them till tomorrow. Now, so what you see is a situation where it is NATO on the one hand versus Russia and China. China is just in the background, but they're there just giving all the necessary backup. So what Russia is doing right now is backing up, this military to take over. You remember, and what we need to be careful about again, you see, Wagner came into some of these countries, and people thought, when the West were pushing, they were sponsoring terrorism. For what I said to you earlier on, what happened what the army were saying in Niger, that their own president was telling them not to go after the terrorists. Who does that? It therefore tells you that the West know what they're doing. They're promoting some of these people. I remember what Museveni said. I saw the video, so it's not like a second-hand story, where he talked about 6 African presidents. He didn't go, but he sent one of his ministers. They were going to Libya to broker peace, and they got a call from NATO saying what? Go back to where you're coming from. 6 presidents of independent African countries, and you're ordering them back. Who does that? And where is Libya today? So you can see that the things that have been happening have not really been in our best interest. For so long, the West has done what it has done, but a few more people are getting wiser. And let me tell you how they recruit some of their people as well. Some of these people, whether from the side of the West or Russia and the rest, when we send our military to go for training, whether it's in Sandoz, it's in Russia, or wherever, these guys get indoctrinated. For information, there are black Wagners now. When they come, you won't see the white man. You didn't see them in Niger. These are black Wagners, and there are many more. And so we have to be very careful as we jump into this war. I would think that a non-kinetic method is better. Let's dialogue. If you go militarily, the continent will be scattered. And as you can see from that belt there, it will just be them coming in one full force. ECOWAS which was your original question, is depleted right now. So there's no unity in ECOWAS anymore. And we're blocking Niger, our source of water for River Niger. Well,
Dr. Hai, you're mentioning now that non-kinetic approach would suffice.
In the immediate, yes.
But do we have examples where this has actually manifested? Concrete examples?
Well, have we done this before? Is a question I would also like to ask. Have we tried to go and militarily force? I know that in the Gambia, for instance, we might argue that Yahya Jammeh was forced to leave, but that was because he wasn't military. He was a civilian government president who didn't want to give up power. And so he was threatened and he left. Now, that's different from this. I don't know, and this is not, I'm not indicting our military, but quite frankly, I doubt that the morale and the unity of the Nigerian army is at its peak. I doubt. We don't have ECOMOG. ECOMOG is not, we used to have ECOMOG. So we had one force. Now you have to reconstitute, you know? So if we had that fighting force like we had before, you might say immediately deploy and all that. But we are battling things on so many fronts. We are battling Boko Haram. We still have not been able to deal with it. We are battling IPOB. We have not been able to deal with it. We are battling all sorts of, you know, things happening here. And if we allow, I heard the Vice President of America calling the ECOWAS president and our president say, "Oga, well done, no. Make sure say that did not happen." No. You don't. You are a president of an independent nation. You do not take dictations from them. Look at what is in your country's best interest. When all is said and done, Niger is still your brother. They're still your neighbors. If you go in there, it's the ordinary citizens that you're going to kill. Exactly. Should we not sit down and start dialoguing before threatening?
If I may, Shaita, pardon me.
Yes.
Based on what you said, looking at what's in our best interest,
yes.
like the move that we made with cutting off power,
yes.
and the Niger's coup leader has declared that he will not bow down to pressure, and he's criticized those sanctions also imposed by West African leaders as illegal and inhumane.
Yes.
How far is too far in terms of our involvement?
Now, let me put it this way, and I think everyone can relate to this. If you have a kid or a younger one that respects you, you keep pushing them, they continue to respect you. The day they look you back in the eye and say to you, "Go to hell, you've lost it all."
Exactly.
Do you agree with me? The fear of an action is more powerful than the action itself, because once the deed is done, in a manner of speaking, I excuse my language, once the deed is done, then there remained nothing else, so to say. I think that we should have just held the stick and say, we threaten, don't give a deadline. You might, okay, well, they've done it and all that, but it's not too late to back down. If we push and we lost it, like what Russia tried to do with Ukraine, they thought they would crush Ukraine immediately. It didn't happen that way. The minute you do that, you are demystified. And if we, as the giants of Africa, because ECOWAS is Nigeria right now, really. Everybody is looking at us. They don't think the others are going to supply any ammunition or money or anything like that. They won't. We are battling with our economy right now. And then we're going to use our depleted resources to start fighting a war. Because the minute you do that, it's a declaration of war. And let me also say something that maybe some of us may not be conscious of. I speak Hausa very well. And I know that most of the people you call Hausa, your security men, the people selling dollars to you, most of them, and I say most of them, are not Nigerians.
Exactly.
Many don't even speak Hausa. They're Nigerians.
My family's been running cattle on this land for over 100 years. Like most California ranching families, we focus on...
Many of them. And so when you declare war on their country, be prepared. The person in front of you might slaughter you at night and disappear. Let's be careful about what we're doing. Our borders are porous. Right now, we have a lot on our plate. Let's look at our internal problem and not worry too much. But I understand where the presidents are coming from. Like I said earlier, it's an existential threat to their own stay in power, because for them, it's like, if it happens here and happens there and happens there, who knows, I might be next. And I saw a video where those are called the Black Wagners. One of them said, "We're coming after you in Ghana. Ghana, you're next, Nigeria, and all that." I get it. But what it simply means is, if you have the people behind you, you have nothing to fear. How do you get the people behind you? Put the right policies in place. Because no coup plotter comes when an economy is good. No coup plotter comes when everybody loves the government. They come when people are dissatisfied, when they start murmuring, and when, in fact, they begin to cry for a change. So the best antidote is good government, good governance. Treat the people well, make sure the economy runs very well. That's the only antidote against coup. As for what is happening in Niger, I will again repeat, discretion is a better part of valor. Don't just jump in and say because you're a giant. You might see David 5 united. Exactly, even David killed Goliath. 5 united men can defeat 50 people who are not united or have low morale. And I dare say, our military, I don't know how strong the morale is. I don't even know how united they are going into this battle. Some of the soldiers from the north will be going to fight. Let me not say too much.
No, say this is where you have to express yourself.
You know, some of the people that you're sending to go and fight them, you might end up going there and then they join those people and start fighting you. You saw how close our former president was to although he was a friend of Bazoum. But the people you're going to fight are your very own brothers.
Exactly.
You know? So that's why dialogue, I still think, is the best way. It's still the best way. A pattern is emerging. You saw that map. Africa has been divided into two. I don't know what the end game is, but we must be careful. We cannot ignore what is staring us in the face. If all that force comes down on the rest of us, don't forget, South Africa is part of BRICS. They're on the Russian side. You get what I'm saying? So there will be a strong force from behind, and we'll just be caught up in the middle.
All
and
right.
what happens?
Thank
Just
you.
quickly, who will be in the best position to do that mediation right now, based on what you're seeing?
I think that
in 10 seconds.
In 10 seconds, let the AU come in and help us save face.
That was going to be my next question: the disparity of the timelines, because AU gave one timeline and then ECOWAS gave a separate one. But we've run out of time. Very quickly, just to make sure we have our facts right, the total amount of debt that the African countries got written off by Russia amounts to $23 billion.
That's what I said.
But
so
that's
yeah, thank you for that fact check.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate your time.
My brother, One Love, good afternoon. Welcome. Oh, I just want to play one more video and then you can speak.
Good afternoon to you, Amoye. How's the family? How's the house and everybody?
I'm doing good, thank you. How are you? How's everything with you?
Yeah, things are okay. I was just listening to you, but I'll let you continue your video.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to rush through the video before we start talking.
Okay.
Thank you.
With the situation of Niger, where a democratically elected leader, Bazoum, was ousted by the military dictatorship, we should be very careful as Nigeria or other West African countries in how we approach this situation. I want us to look at the realities of what happened that led to the coup. Number one, we have two United States military bases in Niger. One in Agadez, which is base 201, and one in Niamey, which is base 101. And we also have 6,000 strong force Operation Barkhane forces of French. In the same Niger, when they were sacked away from Mali and Burkina Faso and Guinea-Conakry, they all packed themselves in Niger. Yet, of all their presence and the military might, they simply let the coup take place. They allowed it to happen because Mohamed Bazoum, the ousted leader of Niger, was the most pro-Western Niger leader of these days. Yet, they did not stop military coup against him. They removed him. They allow him to be removed. So if this is the case, our ECOWAS leadership, especially under the president of our country, should not make a mistake of making any effort in military intervention in Niger, as they have been forced or pushed by the Western powers. I saw Kamala Harris calling our president, telling him that she is good and they should take action. French President Emmanuel Macron and Anthony Blinken, all of them talking and flattering our West African leaders to take action. And what they meant is military action. And once there's a military engagement within West Africa, it plays perfectly into their game, because it's going to be cheaper for them to get oil in Nigeria, for instance, because we are going to be trading crude oil in exchange for weapons to continue to fight the war. In Niger, they are going to be trading in uranium to get weapons in order to continue to confront Nigeria. And the West will now be using this as a ground to test their weapons, to make us destroy ourselves, to sell more of the same weapons and extract our resources with our blood, especially northern Nigeria. The north is practically going to be a hot zone and a battleground. Despite the problems we are having with banditry, with terrorism, with Boko Haram, we are now also going to be converted into a battle zone for testing weapons, including biological weapons. We should not let that happen. We should make a diplomatic effort. As I made in my write-up earlier, the former president of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, and Tahiru Mangal are well respected in Niger. A high-powered delegation under their leadership should be made to go to Niger and find a solution diplomatic. Further to my earlier video, I want to emphasize that from geostrategic perspective, it is important and in the interest of the Western powers that West Africa should have no peace. Because our peace is enlightening us and giving us more stability and is making us to recalibrate our partnerships, our foreign partnerships with countries that matter, that cares about our development, as opposed to the countries that exploit and steal and plunder our resources. Not that they are losing the war completely. It is in their interest that there is no peace. And we should understand that the global conflict taking place in Ukraine and Russia has drastically affected the energy demand in Western powers, and they are looking for energy powers. And what better countries to play in getting these energies than Niger and particularly Nigeria? Nigeria have largest gas and oil reserve, while Niger have highest number of uranium deposit, the 7th largest uranium deposit in the world. 1/3 of French nuclear energy, is powered by uranium extracted from Niger. In fact, even the Eiffel Tower in France is powered by uranium that is coming from Niger. Meanwhile, in Niger, 80% of the population of that country have no access to electricity. So there is a complete plunder. But now that the Nigerians are becoming more democratic and Nigerians are becoming more, a demand of transparency and accountability is forcing them away from getting these resources as they used to get it. So therefore, it is in their interest that there should be war, so that we can use these same resources cheaply to them in exchange for weapons. We shouldn't play to the hands of these people, please. In fact, another thing again we should understand is if West Africa decided to invade Niger in the name of trying to restore constitutional order, we are not going to be fighting Niger, but we are going to be fighting Wagner PMC that are present in Mali, in Burkina Faso, and in Guinea-Conakry. If the combined forces of Wagner came to Niger with forces of West Africa confronting each other, trust me, we're going to destroy our entire region for nothing other than to satisfy the ego of the West.
Hey, see these people, see as they Nigeria, more na sit down. Oh. Look at these people. Una see as they look fierce. They are ready. Where Nigeria won't stand for this kind of one?
Western powers. We shouldn't be too cheap to play to this game, because this game is going to destroy us completely, especially northern Nigeria.
Cut the cable with Verizon Home Internet and cut your internet bill to just $25 a month.
Finally cut the cable, switch to...
We should never allow that. That should not happen in our presence. These guys are playing us big time to plunder our resources at the expense of our blood and our sweat by creating enmity between the countries that we share so much affinity with. We shouldn't do that. The population of northern Nigeria and the population, 55% population of Niger, are almost equal, the same people. So we should not be able to allow these people to play us at the point of the borders they drew against us, please. I noticed that West African leaders, under the leadership of our able president, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, just rounded up a meeting and have agreed to give the Nigerian military 7 days ultimatum to restore the democratically elected leader, Mohamed Bazoum. And in as much as we want to speak hard in the front of the media, it is in our interest that we should explore a critical diplomatic mission that will see to maintaining the peace and security within this region, as against using any hard power between ourselves and our neighbors. It's going to be very destructive. As I mentioned again, I want to re-emphasize that in Nigeria, we have 2 Nigerian population respects the former President Muhammadu Buhari, and also they respect a renowned businessman, Rahiu Mangal. A high-powered delegation under the leadership of former President Muhammadu Buhari can help Nigeria in trying to find a negotiated issue or peace settlement between the ousted leader Mohamed Bazoum so that he can be released from the military detention and the military powers. And we should understand that most of the countries that are bordering Niger right now, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Guinea-Conakry, are all under the same military dictatorship. Any effort to try to affect the sitting military government in Niger will be deemed confrontational directly against them. Are we ready to confront 4 nations at a time? Why do we even have to think about war in our borders? We should not do that. We've seen how Ukraine is practically destroyed simply because they play to the tune of the Western powers. All countries that play to the tune of the Western powers ended up getting destroyed. Saddam Hussein placed in their hand when he was fighting against the Kuwait, and at the end of the day, what happened? He got destroyed. You know, the same Saddam also fought against Iran. At the end of the day, he got destroyed. The same situation happened in different places in the world, and at the end of the day, they got destroyed. So we should not make the mistake of playing to the tune of these Western powers. They don't care about us. The only thing they need is to explore and exploit our resources to their own development. And they will do it much more easily and cheaply in the position of conflict and war, because we will depend on them exclusively to win our wars in exchange for our resources. Come on, we have history of this in Nigeria. When during Biafra, they are getting our oil for free of charge while we kill millions and millions of our citizens together. We should not go back to that history.
Why are you not?
Four African countries have had coups that have seen the ousting of their leaders. Leaders they claim are puppets placed by France, so they can do whatever they want with the country and their resources. One may think they are wrong, but the fact that this got France angry and threatens to retaliate sends a message of what is really happening. France has threatened to wage an attack on Niger, who just had a military coup, and says the military leaders are a threat to their interest. They just displaced over 1,000 French troops from Mali to the capital city of Niger. But why is France so worried? What interest are they protecting? Well, if you haven't been current, let me bring you up to speed. Niger military leaders just placed a ban on the export of uranium and gold, especially to France. Uranium is a major mineral needed by France in its nuclear power plants. Uranium from Niger powers over 1/3 of homes in France, yet over 85% of Niger doesn't know what electricity is. Isn't that unfair? I mean, it is only fair if France helped in developing places and make them enjoy even a piece of their uranium. As a matter of fact, it is not just France. 25% of uranium entering the European Union comes from Niger. It is only logical that one day people will come to the realization that they are being cheated. And they just did. But France has decided they won't let it slide. France says it will do everything to protect its interest in Niger. It will be important to note that the USA also has a military base in Niger, and also you can remember it is a NATO member too. And you know, whenever any NATO country is at war, other NATO member countries come to help. This is exactly what is about to happen. The military leaders of Niger's neighboring countries notice the pattern and decide to back Niger. Who are these leaders and what pattern have they noticed, and why do they back Niger? Well, if you've not been informed, Mali and Burkina Faso have also had coups and their countries taken over by the military leaders too. Mali is led by Assimi Goïta, while Burkina Faso is led by Ibrahim Traoré. These two are strongly in favor of France leaving all of French Africa. They also warned that any attack on Niger means an attack on Mali and Burkina Faso too. They warned France and the US that they won't hesitate to send in troops to back Niger. Other ECOWAS member states condemn this act too, especially as the president of Niger is held hostage and they demand that he be freed. They also gave Niger a 7-day ultimatum to let him go. As a matter of fact, Nigeria has closed its borders and stopped all trade with Niger. The economy between Nigeria and Niger has slowed as a result of this, and the people of Niger suffer already as the country's economy heavily depended on Nigeria. The concern of Mali and Burkina Faso is that they see this as the same thing that happened to Libya. The fight starts with one NATO member, and at the end of the day, the country is at war with many NATO members. Can you see the similarity? Libya is in bad shape today because of its richness in oil. Congo is in constant conflict because it is so rich in natural resources and only one person is benefiting from this. France. Today, Niger bans the export of its natural resource and tit becomes a threat to France's interest. What do you think about this? Do you think Niger should continue trading with France for peace to reign? Do you think Burkina Faso and Mali should send in troops to defend Niger? As for us, we love to see a world where every country uses its resources to make its people happy and rich while sharing a bit of God's blessings to the world with other countries. Niger is the second poorest country in the world, and this isn't fair.
All right, that's the video for now. Okay, One Love has left the studio. This is not going to be a long one. I just wanted to quickly come here. And so the update for today, my people, I'm sure some of you must have known already though. Agbado is asking for reinforcement. Agbado say, I beg go, daddy, mommy. You guys know who I'm referring to when I say mommy and daddy. Please, I need reinforcement too. I'm afraid that maybe what happened to other people is coming for me. So I need you to send more reinforcement too. I need protection. Okay? And then the other thing is that they have decided to back down from using the agidi. They wanted to use force to go and show themselves. They have decided to back down and go the route of, talking to diplomacy. Abi, that's what they call it now. Let me read an article by Shehu Sani, senator, former senator, I've been a senator. I don't even know. Anyway, they say na human rights activist. He sent a letter. Well, there was a press release that he shared. So I want us to read it together. Hey, these people. Yeah, so my sister, Queen, me and you, yes, of course, but so they've backed down. They're not sending anything yet because there's pressure. I mean, those were brothers and sisters. Oh, Niger is just here now. 53% Hausa. See now. So Senator Shehu says Northern Nigerian senators' response to the Niger Republic press release August 4. Northern senators condemned the Niger coup, caution against use of military power. They're advocating diplomatic channel to address situation, frown at economic other sanctions. They're frowning at the sanctions. We, the Northern Senators Caucus of the 10th Senate under the leadership of Senator Abdul Ahmad Ningi, note with concern and condemn in its entirety the unfortunate development in Niger Republic, where the military forcefully upstaged a democratically elected government of blah, blah, blah. The Northern Senators also take cognizance of the efforts. No, we're not going to take cognizance of nothing. We also take exception to the use of military force until other avenues, as mentioned above, are exhausted, as the consequences will be casualties among the innocent citizens who go about their daily business. Besides, about 7 northern states who shared border with Nigeria Republic, namely Sokoto, Kebbi, Katsina, Zamfara, Jigawa, Yobe, and Borno, will be negatively affected. We are also aware of the situation of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Libya, which may affect the 7 northern states. If military force is used, there is serious implication for our country. If military force is used without exhausting all the diplomatic channels, as Democrats and representatives of the people, we are hereby urging our colleagues to observe due diligence in invoking Section 5, subsection 4, paragraph A and B of the 1999 Constitution as amended. So that's what the Northern Senators sent. And then Boo Boo cried to daddy and mommy. Please, oh, please, you people send protection. Oh, they are threatening. Eh? They are threatening. Oh, I'm afraid. Oh, I may, they may come for me. Woo. Right? That's what he was shouting. Now, wait till they shout with that. So now there's this news. I think, let me play this video for you guys. I actually saw this.
I think the Sabo reveling that we saw earlier.
Hold on 1 second. Let me share my screen.
I think the Sabo reveling that we saw early on about the threat of intervening militarily was pretty counterproductive. When military officers decide to stage a coup, that means they've accounted for all the ramifications that may come to them. It's like crossing the Rubicon. So threatening with force, I don't think that's an encouraging way. But now that the delegation is on the ground, hopefully they will have serious diplomatic talks that will lead to some resolution to this. It is very challenging to mount any type of military operation, especially if you're trying to get the military to release and then restore President Bazoum as the president of the country. So mounting an operation actually increases the risk even to the life of President Bazoum. And then in the end, this is in many ways an internal problem. There is a risk of making matters worse. We also know that a lot of the leaders in ECOWAS are not particularly democratic themselves. So the issues of legitimacy and credibility from where the message is coming from. So we cannot blame the trends of coups on Niger. The problem is there are many drivers of instability in the region. That instability had started with the invasion of Libya. We need to face those facts as well. And there are issues of bad governance in all those countries. Those coups are similar, but they're not the same. They have common drivers, common sources of instability that lead to coup. But in order for us to address them, for the international community, for the world, for the partners of Niger, of Mali, Burkina Faso, and so on, we need to face the reality that the West is invested heavily on the kinetic military side of foreign policy, and they've not invested as much on the democracy and good governance. Yeah. So for the populations in any one of those countries and beyond, whether you have democracy or whether you have a military government, it doesn't make much difference because services are not delivered. People are still unemployed, eating is a problem, and so on. What is the difference? The difference will come when we start building strong, good governance, good policies, and so on.
Yes. Fantastic. Yeah.
I think
simple. It's that simple. That's it. So anyway, basically, so that's it. Oh, Google they cry. He don't cry to him daddy and mommy. Say in the fear. Say be like say something like this may happen to him. They should come. Please come and save him and stuff like that. That's what Boo is lamenting about. Okay. I'm glad that they stepped it down and they're going through the diplomatic way, right? Which is better because we can't afford it. These people are our brothers and our sisters. You cannot turn brothers against brothers, and we need to get sense. These people won't use us. Take a deal with each other. Agbado dey hurry, they say yes to everything. I never see that kind of thing before. Agbado is just in a rush. He not think first before he come out. Oh God. Now wow, I'm telling you, it's really I'm glad to hear that because we can't be fighting. We as Nigerians, personally, I'm standing with Niger. These people are happy. They are happy with their people. Who am I to come and tell them how to run their show? Who am I to tell them that what they are doing is not the way? Everybody needs to figure out what works for them. If that's what works for them, who am I to tell them otherwise? So we need to chill. I beg. We get enough problems for Nigeria. Boko Haram on the one side, banditry on the other side, kidnapping on another side. There's so many things. The ritual buying on the other side. All manner of things are happening. So I beg, I no fit shout. Make dem leave us alone, I beg. One love, welcome back. Oh, greetings to you. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you. Sorry, I think I had my phone died. I have to go back in and plug it. So
Oh, okay. No wahala.
yeah.
Yeah. My brother, wetin you get to talk? Me, I no go even too tey for here. Make me sef go relax for this Friday. May I go jollof.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny, Nigeria. I don't know if I don't know when you think about what's going on. It's just really, really sad. How the West has been pinching. They've been doing this for years, just pinching us against each other. For centuries, even down
Yep.
to the slave trade and all the way down to trying to impose their own form of government on people. Now, the thing I don't get is why is it that you are trying to make people practice your form of government? I mean, don't get me wrong. People have argued that democracy is the best form of government. Yes, it can have its advantages, but it also have its disadvantages. Democracy is not perfect. That was a government that you guys came together. You know, People came together, they voted and said this is how they want to be governed. They left Europe, and that form of government was not even contributed to by any person who was non-white. I don't think the Native Americans, even though some of those ideas were borrowed from the Native Americans who were here before the white came, I don't think any of that idea was even gotten from any of the Native American chiefs or any of those people who were here before. Although they stole some of those things from the way those people were living before, but you came together, you set up a government, and now you want every other part of the world to practice it. Now, you you feel like
And
you're
you don't go by
successful.
the rules. Don't forget, they don't go, they set up the go, but they don't follow the same rules.
Exactly. Now you feel like you're successful because you were able to live by it in your own country, but you want other people who probably are not even ready for something like that to practice it. And now I remember back then, I think it was after the election, Dati Ahmed said something about democracy belongs to people who can practice it. Now, if you're in a democracy per se, and people don't have lights, they don't have good roads, they don't have water, they can't even feed, and there are some group of guys who are sitting on top of the wealth of the country. Do you want to keep moving in that direction, or do you want to find a way out? Even though you end up having a government that is not even close to being democratic, but people have some sort of freedom. Because believe me or not, what is going on right Nigeria right now is not freedom. You pretend to be a democratic government, but people can't speak, they can't talk. If you talk to the government anyhow, your life is under risk, you know? And I don't understand what Tinubu is going to do in Niger, because the goal of going to Niger is not the goal of Nigerians. Nigerians are not asking that you should go to Niger. The West is the one asking you to go to Niger because they are trying to protect their own interest in Niger.
Exactly.
They are not there to make peace for Africans to live together. They are there to get their own thing out of Niger, then they will move on. I'm beginning to sense what's going to happen in Niger is basically what happened in Libya. And they are going to try to make sure they make whoever is in Niger right now, who is head of the military, to make him look bad. They will paint that man to the point that the whole of West Africa countries are going to hate him and they will try to fight against him. At the end of the day, Niger will become a destabilized country that you can't even go there, and they will be happy because that's the only way they can go in, get whatever resources they are trying to pull out of there. They
The
don't care.
beautiful thing is that Niger is not standing alone.
You know,
Burkina Faso is backing them. Mali is backing them.
that is very good.
Guinea is backing
It's,
them. Russia
yeah.
is backing. Even North Korea self.
I saw that. I saw that. That is very good. I saw that because that was exactly what was lacking back in 2011 in Libya, because
Exactly.
we had Goodluck Jonathan. There was this former Ghanaian president, and then South Africa president, and then the stupid guy who's now out of UK, the former British Prime Minister, and Obama with Hillary Clinton, who were supposed to be protecting the interest in Africa, but they didn't do anything because they were after their own interest. They formed a coup to pick up Gaddafi to the point whereby the guy was running under caves and running under railways, and where he finally ended up buying. Now, who is suffering what is going on in Libya today? The citizens. Obama
Yep.
is not living in Libya. Hillary Clinton is not living in Libya. None of these guys who destabilized Libya are living in Libya. Their own citizens are suffering it. By the time they succeeded in destabilizing that place, whether you like it or not, they are still getting oil from Libya today. Because that's what they wanted, that resources. Uranium is in Niger. That's what they are fighting after right now. None of these people care about the interest of Africa moving forward. At the end of the day, people are just going to keep lining up trying to get visa, and they are going to keep punishing people, and they're going to keep looking down on us because they feel like we've not been able to come together to fix our own place. Unfortunately, our leaders are being cowards. They've been a puppet whereby somebody can call you from Washington, D.C. with just a 5 minutes phone call and tells you to do something that they want you to do, and you don't have any say. And you call yourself an independent country. You are not independent. I don't see any independence there. If you can still be remoted by a guy who is almost 9,000 miles across the Atlantic Ocean, telling you what to do in Niger, it's just really sad. Because you think if you don't bow to their pressure, you will not get the money that you're stealing. With all of you guys in the Senate, House of Assembly, and all of these criminals that are in power in Nigeria, you will not get that money from oil, where we all could have come together as Africans and form our own resources, have one currency even, form our own railway and trade within ourselves. Do we have to trade with the West? We can mine our resources and do our own thing by our own selves. We don't need them, to succeed. And that was the vision of Gaddafi. They bought him because they knew that if he had succeeded, the West would have been out of Africa. So Nigeria going to Niger, where we can't even fix our own problem. A blind man is going to lead a war. We have not been able to fight even Boko Haram. We've not been able to quench the economic problems. We've not been able to even fix our roads, fix unemployment. You are going to waste thousands and millions and billions of dollars in buying equipment that are going to be used in making sure the citizens in Nigeria are suffering day and night. But I'm sure it's not going to be easy for them. If what is his name, Tinubu go ahead and invade Niger, I think that's going to be the worst mistake Nigerians have ever made for many years. Probably worse than what Abacha did. Because even Abacha going to what was that country then? He was even going there for peacekeeping and all that. But if he goes there and try to impose a government on the people, a form of government that they said they are tired and sick of, where people are just stealing money all in the name of democracy and wearing Agbada uniform every single day. The people say they are fed up, they don't want them anymore. You are going there to impose that a form of government that they don't want. It's gonna be really, really gonna be crazy. I don't know. I think this war might not go might not go likely as they are thinking about it. Now, I know how much this country has sent to Ukraine since Ukraine war started. Let me give you an example about the fact that they don't give a damn about Africa.
So
What was this country in Africa? And Somalia has been fighting war for years, for years. Sudan has been fighting war for years. How many times have you seen the West trying to make peace there? No, they don't care because they get resources from
for
Sudan.
free, they
They get
don't care.
resources from these places. They don't care. But Ukraine war started under a year. We know how many taxpayers' dollars that have gone to that country, and they are even picking up refugees every single day, to the point whereby, I don't know, they are almost supplying them. It's not almost harm to harm. Like any single day, those guys are getting equipment to fight Russia because they care about certain group of people. They don't give a damn about other group of people. You know, but Mali once said that until we have that sentiment whereby people don't look down on people in the sense that one race is better than another, he said it's always going to be to be war. But that's what is going on over the years. I don't think they have any single interest of Africa at heart. They just want a place to destabilize and get their resources. That's about it. So I don't know whoever is advising these guys, um, whoever is advising Tinubu or some of this, even Ghana presidents, the same thing that they did to Gaddafi, they are trying to do it again. It's going to happen again. I remember back then, even when I was in Nigeria, even back in my teens, I see some people there even going to Libya. They will go to Libya, they will go there, have a job, come back, marry, build a house in Nigeria, do everything. They are successful. Like you think this person probably went to the West, but they went to Libya because Gaddafi was taking good care of his people until they turned the mind of the people against him, make him look bad that he was nothing. But since he died, Libya became a ground of jungle. A
It was
country that
intentional to destabilize because
absolutely,
that was very
absolutely,
strategic because since they destabilized, you see, we never rest now. Boko Haram here, bandits
yes, no,
there,
yeah,
terrorists there. It just exposed the whole
everywhere,
area.
everywhere.
Eh?
That guy
It
had a
was
vision.
intentional.
He had a vision. He said Africa should have one currency. We trade within ourselves. If Nigeria has oil, we can ship it to any country in Africa that does not have oil. Then that country can ship whatever resources they have to Nigeria. We have
Exactly.
the same
And
thing.
we trade in
Everybody
our currency
come
too.
together. Have a United States of Africa. They knew he was going to do something meaningful, something that was going to be gigantic, that was going to lift Africa forward. They decided to destabilize that country,
But that's where it is headed now.
and knocked him
It
out.
is headed there now. That's where it is. They cannot stop. See, you cannot stop an idea who's trying to.
How can a country that is just few probably less than an hour drive away from Nigeria, you want to invade the country? Are you
For their
serious?
interest now. Yeah.
Because there are some people pressuring you to do the unknown, that something that is not supposed to, that you're not even supposed to think about it. Because just like what that guy said, the last interview, he said there are so many Nigerians in Nigeria, so
Oh
many of
yeah,
them.
gates man, dollar when they sell dollar to you, the ones when they Okada people. In fact, for inside market, they dey inside market. They are everywhere. Which is like you're buying your own family member. That's what it's like.
You know,
This mumu man when they there, he not think, he just rush. He want to because guess what? Apparently, they gave him $2.4 billion.
oh, they will. Oh no, of
They
course.
gave it to him already.
Yeah, they will. They are so good at doing that because the thing is, once they give you that money, they are getting times 10 of that money back. They already calculated the resources that they are going to get from Niger. They made the calculation. This country doesn't do something for free. They made the calculation, so they are trying to make sure they invest there and they can pull something out of it. And the foolish man in Aso Rock will just be happy, be laughing, which is that, but we got money because the money they got is not even in the interest of Nigerians. It's only for their own pockets. The wicked, a lot of them will just share that money,
Oh
and
yeah.
then before you know it, they will give some soldiers, give them some few ammunition, make them go Niger, make them go to fight. Their picking not there, yo. Their children are not there.
No.
Their mom is not there. Their wife is not there. But they can send other people's children to go there and lavish in a country that they don't know. You know. So until we have someone, I mean, that's the reason why we are so happy. In fact, it's the reason why they don't even want to see any good leader come out of Africa, because they
No.
know if you put a good person there, so you're not going to just take a phone from Washington D.C. and call someone like Peter Obi and say go and invade Niger.
Laye,
It's not going to happen.
my expected elder brother.
You know,
Those are my
you don't
family
you don't
members.
have to buy oil from us. You don't have to. In fact, you can keep your money to yourself. There are so many things that we can do. Even if now just come with the eat every day, let's eat, let's feed on it. But it has to be something that we did by our own selves. Something that we were able to come up with our own idea. You cannot come here to do something, oppress the people and make them to believe what they don't want to believe in because you're trying to, make them look stupid by pouring in dollars, just like what they've given to Adbado right now. To try to go and fight your own brother because of money.
I hope
So
this one suppose open an ear. I mean, it don't cool down now because they don't say line at the diplomatic role because the northerners now
the
their
people,
brothers and
the,
sisters be
yeah,
that.
the people there are. I saw on the news that the people there are happy. What else do you
Yes,
want?
they're excited. They're
Mhm.
celebrating. They even they abuse Agbado. You don't see whether they abuse her. They give her a new name,
The people you say
Oda.
you want to go fight for, they said they are happy. They don't. If they were the one that are crying out, "Oh, come and rescue
It's
us," so
a
that's a different
different
case.
thing.
You know, they are
And the
happy.
and the president is ready for anything. Wagner people now you want to take the
Oh
play.
yeah, it's gonna be difficult for you to
Hmm.
fight. It's gonna be difficult for you to fight a leader that has the support of the people. Right
Very
now,
difficult.
oh yeah, right now, that guy can recruit thousands and thousands of Nigerians. They are ready to fight for him
Yes.
because they are in support of what is going on.
Then you won't go put your head. Meanwhile, your military, the morale of your military is very nobody even know where the morale dey. E dey ground because you don't care about you don't buy them,
Military,
send them
probably never
to
get
Boko
salary
Haram.
since how many months?
Eh?
You know.
Now those ones now you want they go just those ones they go be like a wolf slaughter. Now you want come go give them put them for front of this thing make they just dey pile up and down.
No, it thinks now the war you fight now is still like then of the Babangida and the rest, where they used to say, "Oh, Nigeria is the giant of Africa." The man does not understand that things have changed. You know, he thinks
Exactly.
you can just go into any country, maybe like Benin or one of those places, and say, "Hey, we are Nigerians." It doesn't work like that anymore. These days, things don't. A lot of things have changed. Don't underestimate that country that you're saying. Oh, Niger, they don't have anything. I pray. I just pray this guy doesn't mess up because, but they say when the going gets going, it gets tougher. I don't know how they say it.
When the
People are
going
going to be
gets
running
tough,
around.
the tough
I'm
gets
just
going.
praying, because once it involves two countries like that, those guys can hit anywhere they want to hit. You know,
That's true. That's very true.
it
Let
needs
me
to
play
back
this
down there.
one.
They have to figure a way out to do it diplomatically because it's not going to lead to anything really. It's just going to make a mess of that place. You know, they are pushing you to do just exactly what they did in 2011 against Gaddafi. Is what they are trying to do right now. If they are pushing you to do this, you just need to look at history and learn your lesson and back off because
Mm.
it's not going to work.
Hopefully, he has people in his ear that are telling him that he shouldn't try it. Hopefully, he's listening to them because the man be like, oh no, is a when no.
The problem with this set of people that are in power right now in Nigeria, they are money druggers. Like once they see money, it's like you give them candy and chocolate. They will leak that money to the point of even trying to do anything to buy their own brother. You know, or people like the wicked that is buying one champagne for $10,000 or so. Those guys just once they see money, they can do anything. That's the reason why I'm kind of like just on the fence. I'm kind of just watching what's going to happen because I still believe they might do something stupid because they don't have good advisors. They don't even know what they are doing. Look at the list of people that he wants to nominate for
My
ministerial
God.
position. And the funny thing is, once he goes to he probably will not even seek the opinion of the Senate anyways. Because even if he goes to the Senate, those on a rubber stamp, they will just say, okay, go ahead. Because he's going to share money for them.
Qui ici ne souhaite pas que la dette soit purement et simplement effacée? Celui qui ne le souhaite pas, il peut sortir, prendre son avion et aller tout de suite à la Banque mondiale payer. Tous nous souhaitons que notre conférence adopte la nécessité de dire clairement que nous ne pouvons pas payer la dette. Non pas dans un esprit belliqueux, belliciste. Ceci pour éviter que nous n'allions individuellement nous faire assassiner. Si le Burkina Faso tout seul refuse de payer la dette, je ne serai pas là à la prochaine conférence.
Can you imagine wetin the man do just because he was looking for the good of his people? Just because wetin he do?
They wouldn't want him to succeed, because if he does, you are not you're not going to be asking them for aid or help or anything. And sometimes I hear people say, "Oh, what about the aid they send to Africa? They help Africa." I say, "Come on, look,
help in what way?
they will not. If they send you $10,000, they are getting $100,000 back."
That one wey they give you na peanuts compared to wetin dem dey collect.
Of course.
Abeg o, forget these people.
Secondo lei l'Africa paga un caro prezzo sugli errori delle grandi potenze?
We end up with injustice, we end up with corruption, we end up with poverty, we end up with the worst possible things, we end up with the image. I don't have to tell you the image that you have in Africa. I don't have to tell you. Listen, when I was in office as an Air Force pilot, I went to school and trained in the cities. When I became an Air Force pilot, I had the opportunity to travel around the country. That's when I saw there is a big difference between those of us living in the cities and the mass people who feed us living in the rural areas. My brother, you listen to me carefully. The water they drink in those rural areas is such that the water you use to flush your toilet, the water we use to flush our toilet in the cities is much cleaner than the water they drink in the villages. No clinics, no hospitals, etc. No headache, no needles to even sew their clothes. That's when I began to see the parasitic relationship between our cities and this thing. I mean, I've seen too much injustice in my country when I decided enough was enough. When some of us began to decide that something has to be done about it. When we emerged into political office, you know something? Electricity used to be limited to only 27% of the country. In the shortest possible time, we were able to, with Italian assistance, we were able to extend electricity from 27 to almost 87% of the rest of the country. We were able to extend roads. The infrastructure was improved every part of the country. I mean, it was beautiful. I mean, the energy now goes to every part of the village. Children can now go to school and can learn at night, so that my children living in the city will not have an advantage over that child in the village. My child has no superior, was not born with anything superior than that child in the village. But so long as that child in the village is denied and deprived of electricity to learn at night and good water, etc., my child in the city will always have the advantage over the ones in the rural areas. I've been to school where rural students were doing better with the passage of time than those of us in the cities. Please, I know the potential of humanity, So when you're talking about the effects of some of these things, sometimes, you know, these superpowers must learn to accommodate and to live and to accept patriotic leadership, patriotic citizens. Too often, they're happier with people who are not patriots. But you in Europe, excuse me, don't get angry, you never seem to know the role that some of your bad businessmen, you have good businessmen, and I respect them, but some of your bad businessmen are always doing bad things on our continent. And it's our people who suffer. This kind of thing must stop. Your governments must begin to wake up to help us, to help to police and to maintain the integrity of economic policies and economic practices in my country. Your country must help us to protect the judiciary in my country. Your country must help us to police and to monitor and to protect the political integrity in our continent.
For we are Shoo. He said it all, though. They are very excited about it. Meanwhile, I saw this video and I thought I'd play it. They said there was a leaked email. My people, we listen together.
Breaking news. America accidentally leaked millions of sensitive military information to Mali recently.
A typing error has reportedly routed millions of US military emails to Mali. The problem was simulated or stimulated by entering .ml instead of .mil, and data containing diplomatic documents, tax returns, and passwords were exposed in a minute. The data leak was exposed by a Dutch contractor. The contractor managing Mali's domain has tried to warn the US over the same issue several times in the past, but there seems to be no rectification. The exposed data includes internal complaints, travel plans of officials, maps and photos of installations, and crew lists. As per the Pentagon, measures are being taken to analyze this issue, and all information related to national security is taken very seriously. The risk is definitely real, and the data can be exploited by the foe.
Nothing can stop an idea whose time has come. No matter what you do, you just dey make mistake. You know why. You just dey make mistake, back to back mistake. You won't know why. That's what's going on right now, to be honest with you. Little mistakes here and there.
Isabel had the chance to discuss the current situation in Niger as well as the anti-Western sentiment in the region with RT Africa Bureau Chief Musa Ibrahim.
There is a culture of resistance, of liberation in the west of Africa. People know that the superficial demands for democracy are not enough to just go to the polls and cast your vote as the West would like people to do. What people want is to gain back their wealth, back their uranium, their gold, their iron, their phosphate, their oil, their gas. And this scares the West because this means the true democracy will take place in Africa when people actually own their own land and the wealth of Africa does not go untaxed, unsupervised from the mines in Niger to the banks of Paris and the financial sector in Britain.
Well, yeah, you bring up good points because Africa, the continent, is full of resource-rich nations that don't see any of that wealth. Now, we heard this similar sentiment, this sort of echoing of Thomas Sankara and Muammar Gaddafi at the Russia-Africa summit. And most recently, of course, we hear this solidarity with the coup in Niger. Mali and Burkina Faso, as you mentioned, say that they consider an attack on Niger an attack on them. Now, they also cited concerns of Niger becoming like Libya. Can you outline what that scenario would look like?
Well, I would encourage your viewers to just go back to 2011 and listen to the two dominant discourses at that time. There is the West's discourse, which said, oh, we are bringing democracy to Libya, we are protecting civilians, we are rebuilding it as a modern country for human rights, we are situating it in the international community to be a safe place for Libyans and Africans and for the Mediterranean bases. We are bringing prosperity to the country. And then the Gaddafi Pan-Africanist discourse, which said, no, what will happen is total destruction of Libya, robbing of Libya's oil, the terrorist organizations dominating the country, continuation of civil and tribal conflict. Libya will become a center of instability and danger for the whole of the Sahara and Sahel region and the continent. 12 years after these discourses were put forward, which discourse proved beyond any reasonable doubt to be the accurate discourse? All of this diversity, apparent diversity of the West, actually comes into one place. They all cannot live or survive one day without the wealth of Africa. I'm hoping that the West will come to its senses and realizes that maybe it should find a way to coexist with the rest of the world instead of
That guy right there summarizes it perfectly. Exactly what happened in Libya. That's what these guys are trying to do again. And unfortunately, our rulers don't read. They probably don't even know what happened in Nigeria 2 years ago because they don't know about history. Because we don't keep one. We don't have records. You know, they probably don't even know how many people were born in Nigeria today, or how many people die today. We don't have any of those statistics. If they read history and go back to what happened in Libya 2011, they are repeating the same thing again. They are doing it again, and unfortunately, I am very positive though that this Mali and the other country that is joining Niger will not let this happen.
They are not letting it happen, they are banding together. It's not even funny. But the Wagner group is already on ground.
The reason I'm actually happy is because the people are behind this guy right now. What made it difficult for Gaddafi was that they turned the heart of the people against him. And the people were actually after Gaddafi.
Yes, and the people
Gaddafi
they were the
was the
ones
wrong
after
person.
Gaddafi. That's right.
You know, they thought he was the wrong person, but after his spy, they actually found out that look, they just actually spy their own person that should have liberated them. You know, that saw these things coming. Look at Libya. Libya has nothing is stable there. No democracy, no government, nothing there. The place is like a desert. People are doing their own thing. That's where you were seeing even back then. I think it was like 2014 or so, where they were even selling parts and buying people from different. So many stuff just going on in Libya. But when Gaddafi was there, none of those things. Even Libya citizens don't even think of traveling out of Libya. I said, people go to Libya then. They will go there, work, come to Nigeria, build a house, buy a car, have a family. It's just like you traveling to the West. Libya was a good and settled country. The citizens were getting paid every month when Gaddafi was in power because their oil was so rich. It was like one of the best oil in the world. I think they have even you could power airplanes and so many stuff. The country was so rich. Gaddafi was, even though yes, he was in charge of a lot of stuff, but it made sure he took care of its citizens. Every one of them they don't even work, but they get paid.
Yeah.
You know.
It was a rich country. His son,
rich country, very rich country.
Yeah, you know that the son has been in prison in Lebanon. They held him. They took him from Libya, and he's been in Lebanon prison for over 8 years.
Imagine.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
The guy is just there. No, these people.
They destabilize that place, Africa, that part of Africa. Even all of these Tunisia and Morocco and the rest of them. Even the whole of Africa never remained the same again since Gaddafi was gone. They knew that guy was the only person that was preaching
standing
that
strong for Africa. Yeah.
You know.
That's true.
Where would the coup leaders in Niger possibly get the idea that France had any interest whatsoever in intervening in its former colony? Well, it might have something to do with a statement that was put out by the French presidential palace, the Élysée, on Sunday that read, quote, anyone attacking French nationals, the army, diplomats, and interests would see France respond immediately and intractably. And by French nationals, they mostly just mean one guy named Mr. Uranium, because Niger is France's top supplier of it, providing 15% of its total supply and a fifth of the European Union's. And the mineral is absolutely critical to power France's nuclear reactors. You see, France's energy independence is ironically very dependent on Niger, which would explain why French President Emmanuel Macron sounded awfully angry about something happening a whole continent away.
Anyone attacking French nationals, the army, diplomats, and rights of way would see France respond immediately and intractably. The President of the Republic will not tolerate any attack against France and its interests.
Yeah, those French interests would certainly include uranium. And now we've been hearing multiple Western press reports that the military junta, now in charge, has cut off exports of both uranium and gold to France. And that comes as really bad timing for Paris, which has become even more reliant on its nuclear power plants after cutting itself off from Russian gas with the rest of the EU to impress Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, in kind of the same way that college party guys work themselves into a frenzy and do dumb things like jump off a roof to impress girls. Germany is already on the verge of deindustrializing because Europe's economic engine can't run on wind and sun. Who knew? Apparently not Berlin. But at least France had not completely bought into Berlin's green fantasies and mothballed all their nuclear power plants, although Macron was certainly heading in that direction. So plan B after the Russian gas cutoff was to power them back up. But now Niger has suspended the export of the uranium that they require with the immediate effect. But hey, no problem though, right? Because France has other suppliers like Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, except who largely controls the transport of those to Europe? Russia's nuclear giant Rosatom. Whoops, that doesn't really leave Paris with much wiggle room now that it's in conflict with all of these uranium suppliers. Lost in all these selfish foreign interests, though, is the will of the citizens of Niger.
We have to be allowed to do what we want, to appoint the president we need. Outsiders must not impose people upon us to manage us. That's the end of it.
As citizens of Niger, we're against the French military bases, the American bases, the Canadian and the Italian bases. All those foreign bases that are in Niger, we don't need them.
Our armed forces must not give in to any blackmail. Niger is resilient. We are resilient. What we produce, our GDP, is more than enough for us to survive. We call on the armed forces, the security forces, to resist those attempts to blackmail us.
It's interesting. When it comes to the conflict in Ukraine, Macron makes it all about the interests of Ukrainians. But when unrest breaks out in Niger, it's all about French interests. It wasn't not long ago that Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni was undressing France on the world stage and exposing its colonial interests in all their glory.
This is a child who works in a gold mine in Burkina Faso. It's one of the poorest nations in the world. France prints colonial money for Burkina Faso, which has gold. In return, they demanded 50% of everything Burkina Faso exports end up in the coffers of the French treasury. The gold that this child goes down a tunnel to extract mostly ends up in the coffers of the French state. So the solution is not to take the Africans and bring them to Europe. The solution is to free Africa from certain Europeans who exploit it and allow these people to live off what they have.
In the end, Macron might try to dress up and justify his actions and frustrations as defending democracy in Niger rather than economic neocolonialism. But the reality is that the emperor really is just standing there in his fancy Lacoste boxer shorts by this point.
This woman get mouth too.
Yeah, the issue is, what is Canadian army, the US army, the French army, and which other country? What are they doing in Niger?
Exactly.
Why do they have a base in those countries? Why? You know? Because if the military was in power, they wouldn't even let that happen. But because they have these quote-unquote democratic puppets that they have all over Africa, they can control and manipulate them. Why would a military base
of another country be in my country. That doesn't make any sense.
At
What are you
all.
doing there?
You just sit down for there. The people are not enjoying their resources. There's no light, there's no water, there's no good road, nothing. Do you know the soldiers, one of the reasons why they decided to do this coup, terrorists were attacking them. So they were, do you know what, when they now went to meet their president Bazoum to tell him that, come, look at what's going on. Bazoum was telling him not to touch the terrorists. Because apparently those terrorists now French people get them, now they send them. Can you imagine? He said, but that he was watching his soldiers fall one after the other by these terrorists. They're not good. They say they not touch them. Isn't that what's happening in Nigeria? No wonder they know they fit get solution to wetin dey happen for Nigeria. This is the problem.
Yeah, of course. The way this man shut off everything now, me, I want to say now, without you trading with them, without you, shipping your resources to them, if the people in that country, if they are going to buy overnight, because they believe I don't know where these African leaders get this mentality from. Like, if you don't cheap and sell stuff to them, that we can't survive.
That's
Why
the only
can't
way
we
we can
just come
survive.
together and
No,
trade
the
within our own
young
states?
because they don't get sense now. One love. They don't get. We don't have leaders with sense. These people don't have brains. They are cult members. When they join the cult, they donate their brain. They don't have vision, nothing. They don't have anything in their brains. That is why. Because imagine someone like Peter Obi now, by the time you go around all the leaders with their talk, sit down, I'm telling you, currency go come out sharp sharp. You go don dey the process already. You go don decide how we want to dey trade. I'm telling you, we need those puppet masters need to go all over Africa, not just some. Look at what is happening in Sierra Leone, where
Yeah.
the man they pursue all in opposition. He dey fear. So they already they instigate. Is that not madness?
That Italian prime minister, she said something about you are not going to solve the problem by thinking if you bring Africans to Europe or to the West, that's going to make the problem go. No, it's not going to solve the problem. You're just making the problem worse. It's like you giving somebody food every day without teaching the person how to get the food by themselves. Just get out of Africa and let Africa do their own thing. That's all we need.
That's all we need. We're not asking for too much, my goodness. We need to fix our own. We need to build our own. We've not built it in centuries. We need to go back and start building from scratch. God give us the strength and the energy to be able to do it so that the children coming after will not have to deal with all this rubbish. Look at what, let me play this one. Look at what Vladimir Putin has done.
President Vladimir Putin has given $23 billion in debt owed to our African countries. He also forgave $684 million to Somalia 3 days ago. Well, it probably was like a week ago because it's been a couple of days. But listen, according to Putin, Russia is in favor of establishing ties with the African Continental Free Trade Association, both through Eurasian Economic Union and on a bilateral level. On this past Thursday, I don't know what happened right there, but on Thursday, the president said Russia would provide hard-pressed countries on the continent with free grain. Burkina Faso, Zimbabwe, Mali, Somalia, Central African Republic, and Eritrea will each receive between 25,000 and 50,000 tons of grain, while Moscow will cover the delivery costs and the shipments. The delivery costs of the shipments. I'm reading all crazy today, ain't I? Research over me, what I've learned from looking into this headline is that launched in 2021, the African Continental Free Trade Area is expected to become a continental market with a total GDP of more than $3 trillion, making Africa one of the leaders of the multipolar world. Look like Putin trying to make him some allies.
Yeah, that's how you go. That's how you go. You teach the people what they need to know and you move, This one they won't take advantage. Everything is about taking advantage,
That is why you see over the years, they know something is wrong. Every time you keep wondering why we keep having this set of leaders, set of hold cargoes
Exactly.
with no idea. They know something is wrong. They don't want to talk about it. They know our system is not strong. They don't want to talk about it because they are benefiting from it. You know.
Exactly. They go just keep quiet. You know, people they suffer, they go, they suffer, they go. Waiting. What is? I mean, hey, who we offend? Eh? Upon all, we see the struggle. We are struggling back and forth, back and forth. Eh? It's too much. We need to get it together. For me, oh, we stand in Nigeria. We stand with France. So I mean, we stand with Niger. What's going on here? Sorry, guys. What's going on? Sorry, 1 second. Sorry. What's happening for them? Since they just want to own every aspect. Look at what they did with Haiti. The same thing Haiti don dey fight since Haiti push them out during their fight decades ago. Haiti still dey pay France till today. Haiti still
Do
pay.
you
Make that make
do,
sense.
do you know? Do you know it's this same thing that happened? Do you know it's this same thing that happened in Vietnam? The Vietnam War, 1950s, 57, 56, and 8. Now, these guys basically this same idea of, oh, you should embrace democracy is the best thing you can get, blah 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 blah. These people, they train some group of guys who were able to chase the Japanese out, and then at the end of the day, because they wanted their own interest with France, they wanted France to come back. And the people that the CIA trained before who were there, I think they call them the Viet Cong or something like that. They were the one that said, no, we don't want France back. We actually chased France out because we don't want them. Japanese came, you help us chase Japanese out. Now you want to bring France back. That was how the Vietnam War started. That they fought. In fact, in the history of America, the Vietnam War is the most brutal war they've ever fought, the most difficult and complex, even up to today, because they were fighting those people in a different weather, in a different climate, and in a different geography that they never understood. People were signing up,
Right.
19, 18, 20 years old, were signing up to today. They still have a lot of guys who came from that war, still going through mental problems today, because they wanted to, and then they fought and fought and fought. After all the riot at home, they left. Nothing was achieved. The same thing is going to repeat itself again in Niger. These dumb houses over there, they are trying to push them so they can go and invade their own brother's country.
By the grace of God, it will not happen because everybody's talking about it. It's not like before, like what they did with Gaddafi. The thing just go like that. Piam, it not go happen, I beg.
The EU considers unacceptable the suspension of Radio France International and France 24 in Niger. This measure is a serious violation of the right to information and freedom of expression. The EU strongly condemns these violations of fundamental freedoms.
Yeah, they're strongly condemning Niger. You'd think they'd be actually giving them an award or something. This is really rich. By Brussels' own standards, cracking down on media platforms you don't like is critical to preserving democracy. So why aren't they congratulating Niger for grasping the concept of what the EU did itself when it banned Russian media across the whole bloc? Instead, the EU brass is upset that Niger has banned French state media, Radio France Internationale and France 24, in the wake of the coup, and is crying now about an attack on press freedoms. But here's what EU chief diplomat Joseph Borrell had to say last year in attempting to justify the bloc's blanket top-down ban on Russian media platforms like RT.
We are delivering thanks to the ample evidence that we have collected with EU versus disinformation, that we were able to impose restrictive measures on the Kremlin propaganda machinery and effectively ban them from operating within the European Union, to ban them from operating within the European Union. And on doing that, we are not attacking the freedom of expression, we are just protecting the freedom of expression.
That sounds super democratic. So basically what he's saying there is that the EU collected evidence on their own and then judged it and then implemented the ban. I'm pretty sure that, the new coup leaders in Niger probably can say that they did exactly the same thing. So censorship, according to Joseph Borrell, is actually just protecting free speech by rebranding dissent as, quote, disinformation. Way to open the door for any and every country to spin dissent as a national security threat. The French Foreign Affairs Ministry also reacted, saying that the French media censorship in Niger, quote, takes place in a context of authoritarian repression. Where were they, the French government, when the EU was doing exactly the same thing to Russian-linked media that platformed French journalists? I wonder if these big European defenders of free speech have noticed that the list of websites that now require Europeans to use a VPN within Europe in order to circumvent European censorship efforts has never been so long. So now these same folks responsible for information crackdowns at home are positioning themselves as protectors of the free press and free speech in Niger. Oh, and speaking of which, later this month, the EU's Orwellian Digital Services Act sounds pretty benign, right? It comes into mandatory effect under the guise of keeping the internet in Europe, quote, safe and accountable. But when Twitter owner Elon Musk pulled Twitter, the platform, from the currently voluntary compliance with EU moderation and content control measures under that act, the bloc's internal market commissioner, Thierry Breton, tweeted, quote, you can run, but you can't hide, which totally doesn't sound threatening or controlling, or the exact opposite of the freedom that the bloc always claims to be defending. What he means is that under these new measures, platforms like Twitter, connected with, quote, fact checkers, civil society, and third-party organizations with specific expertise on disinformation, well, they're going to have to all work together mandatorily now. In other words, avid gatekeepers of the establishment narrative are going to be policing media platforms. And on August 25th, adherence will no longer be voluntary. The EU should really consider getting out of the control freak business if it really wants to help free speech, because despite constantly paying lip service to the idea, it's really set.
Free speech call free speech me. Now that grammar that they speak just to collect wetin dey for person hand. When it suits them, they go swing, they go structure am in a way. When e no suit them again, they go turn am around. Abeg. Anyway, time up. Me, I just want to say time up, because with all these things when they happen, it's not accidental. Let's watch a scene from King Shaka Zulu. Apparently, they say they cancelled the scene from the movie itself.
Is the sky so beautiful in the land of your King George?
Not exactly, Baba. You see stars that we do not see. And we see stars that you do not see.
Amazing. Everywhere we look. Down. Up. Our peoples are different. Yet you ask that we come together. Odd. This nation you speak of, the fruit of our alliance, who would govern it?
There would be representatives sent out from our king, who, together with you, would deliberate, make laws, see to the needs of the people.
Your people would know the needs of my people?
We would learn each other's needs.
How would we live in this nation?
as neighbors, village near village.
And how would these villages be placed? Zulu, English, Zulu, English, Zulu.
The land is vast, Baba. There's plenty of room for all, without crowding.
Without crowding, Febana, you mean Zulu, English.
Until our needs become clear.
I see. But what would happen, Febana, if after many generations, the children of your children were still unable to learn the needs of my people? If their stars remained different, would they then leave to go back to the lands where you came from? Or would they have learned to love this land so deeply that no other land could be home? What would happen, Febana, if this land, without crowding, became crowded? Which of those unborn children would then be called African? Yours or mine?
Great question. Since we meet these people, life not normal for us. Back to back sufferation, back to back. I'm happy. Everybody don dey open eye. I'm actually happy about what's going on. To be honest with you, I'm happy. Who am I to stand, and say no, these people don't have a right to have the type of leadership they want. Look at how excited these people are that they have a new president that's been able to push back on these foreign invaders. Look at how excited they are. Who am I to say no? Abeg, nah, cool. Because me, I had a bad experience about coup. Because the people that did coups then were selfish. Doesn't mean that they're always going to be bad. My prayer, my own, is to pray for them and wish them well. That their leaders continue to have their interests at all times top priority in their mind and in their heart. That's all I pray. That even though, because it doesn't matter who the leader is, as long as the people are taken care of, I don't care. If these people are giving, if these military men are giving their people the things that they need to survive, who am I to stand in their way and question it? I stand with my brothers and sisters for Mali, for Niger, for Guinea, for Burkina Faso, everywhere when e dey happen, where the struggle dey happen, I stand with them. While we dey keep our eyes on the judiciary, I hope say the judiciary dey see wetin dey happen. They don't need anybody to tell them, and I don't know what the delay is about. They ought to have given judgment right now. They already see the handwriting on the wall. The judges, they can see what is going on. Is this what they want? Do they want to live in this mess? I leave it to them. Now dem go decide whether Nigeria go scatter or e go remain. It's up to them. It's up to them. Because I guarantee you, these people are coming. They're not the end. You see the map when they show, they've taken over 5 already. It's a network. If you not like, I don't know if you do now, we're going to do so. But saying Africa will remain subservient, no, it don't do. It don't do. We have lost so many, we've lost so much time, we've lost good souls, we've lost people, resources. We've not even built our countries. No, enough is enough. I beg. Look at how Africa be. Africa be like jungle, untamed, nothing. Meanwhile, these people will come with their heavy machinery, suck every good thing out of the soil, including the people. Look at all the European countries now giving making visas available for migration. Canada now, they don't come out with migration for carpenter, for welders. I'm telling you. So if you be welder now for Nigeria or you're carpenter, you can come to Canada. They are looking for all manner of skills right now. Even truck drivers, they find. Hey God. They want to empty Africa of all its human resources. We're not going to let them do. We must get our country back. We must get them back. Shaka, scary, soft talker, inner strength, powerful, a warrior, a leader. Yeah. Only you be gay until you become Christian. You can't change religion. That's the problem now. Yeah, honestly, they are waking up one after the other. One after I won't say Nigeria is sleeping. Nigeria is waking up now. All this talk when we dey talk, all this movement with Peter Obi and all of that. Can you still say that Nigeria is sleeping? Because they have not acted. Is that why you're saying they're still sleeping? I wouldn't say so. You know, waiting for Niger to ask US of yeah, they've already asked them to leave now. They don't already tell them to leave. Yeah. They've already told them what I think the Niger ambassador to France now when they talk say recognize any military ruler na Bazoum. I just dey laugh. I see this woman. You wan take your life take do 10-10. Are you not supposed to be on the side of your people? I don't understand though. Some of these they are foreign puppets. What can I say? One love, abeg give me your final thoughts. Let me end it. I don't want pay for here. Make I go relax. One love, are you still here? I know it's late on your end anyway. But anyway, my people, this is it. I'm calling it an early night today. Thank you very much for joining me. Let's keep the movement going, please. I beg, use your social media platform. So we are not standing for any kasala to boss in Africa. I beg. We need to shine our eye and be calling out all our leaders. Make dem get sense. We not send dem message. Make dem carry their children go the front of the battle if dem wan fight. Sheyi dey there, make e carry Sheyi. Make e carry the 47 ministers wey e just including Otobo Keyamo. Make e carry dem go front, make dem go fight, including Asari Dokubo wey dey pump chest. When be say na only needle na dem put for there im stomach, everything go less. Make e go fight. Make dem carry dem. Shebi e dey flex power. Make e carry himself, make dem carry all their body. Make dem go fight for Niger. Then we go know say true dem be strong people. So anyway, thank you very much guys for joining me. I'll see you guys on my next one. If you have not yet subscribed, please subscribe, like on your way out, and make sure you keep your notification bell on so you can get notified when I go on come on live. Thank you so much, Kene. Good night. Happy weekend. Mr. Guy Awalele, thank you very much. One love, thank you for staying in the studio with me. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful Friday night, guys. Bye.